Welcome to the Spectators Podcast. Here are your hosts, Corey and Jeff.
Welcome, spectators, to another exciting episode of the Spectators Podcast, episode 39. My goodness, 39. I am Jeff, and to my mic adjacent is Corey. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well. As you can see, I'm rooting for the other team tonight. I know you're not paying attention to the game, but Seattle has already is already up 2-0. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, what can I say? Royal Rumble is in 3 days. We've been looking forward to this for months, and it's finally here. How are you, my friend?
Good. I was just going to say, I hope our listeners today are for this episode are ready to rumble, because we're going to focus on WWE, because one of the probably the most exciting pay-per-view of the year outside of Mania, you'd say.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people probably would put this as one of, if not the best pay-per-view, just for overall. It tends to have a lot of excitement, and a lot of people get excited going into the Rumble. It's the first pay-per-view of the year, but also, you just never know what might happen. The Rumble can be totally uncertain, and people can return, and you can have guest appearances, and you just never know what you're going to see. So it is a very exciting time, especially for that uncertainty. And I feel like they've been pretty clear on who is going to be in both the men's and the women's Royal Rumbles, but there's also some holes. We still don't know who. There's been a lot of rumors going on, so there's still a lot of free spots, and we literally only have one Friday Night SmackDown left before Rumble. So.
Yes. So I think it'd be I think it'd be important maybe to sort of, for this episode, to just sort of talk about the Rumble, because I think really this whole month has been about the Rumble.
Yeah.
You could argue the build-up has been kind of iffy with the Rumble. I think, Raw 30 actually did a good job, I think, of sort of mixing Raw 30 with the build of the Rumble. There were some good segments in there that showed, obviously it celebrated Raw 30, but then they did, talk about the Rumble. I think one interesting thing about this whole build to the Rumble this year, and this maybe because it's the first time I've seen it, is who gets to declare themselves. That's the word I'm looking for. Who gets to declare themselves for the Rumble, and who has to do a qualifying match? I'm still a little confused on how exactly one gets to go into the Rumble match.
I think I don't know how many Rumbles there have been in the past. I'm gonna say there's probably close to, we're on WrestleMania 39 this year, or 38. 39, I think.
The first one was First one was 88. The Rumble, I think.
So we're somewhere around there. Okay, so anyways, I mean, I would assume there's probably been close to 30 Rumbles. I don't know exactly, but I think since I have ever watched, I don't think I've ever really been clear on why somebody declares themselves to get in, and others just kind of have to qualify. I mean, I feel like they always kind of put those mid-tier, mid-card wrestlers, those talent always have to kind of qualify, whereas you have others who just automatically make it in. They declare that they are in, like Rey Mysterio did, and like Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes is a fair adjustment just because he's coming back from injury, so he deserves to be in the Rumble with all the hype he had last year. And then, you have others who don't declare, they don't qualify, and then all of a sudden they're in the Rumble when you see the Rumble happen.
Well, Escobar is a guy who just happened to just declare himself, but a guy like Ricochet had to do...
No, Escobar had a qualifying match from what I remember. I think he had a qualifying match, and Who did he
fight?
Who did he beat? I don't remember, but I do recall he did have a qualifier. I do. And I wouldn't see someone like him coming up from NXT recently and just declaring himself in. I can see the legends getting in, like Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, like, those guys are going to be in. But it's funny, you look at the Rumble as it is, and the let's say the men. Let's start with the men's side, and you got your two champions in, right? I'm not talking about main champions, just like the women. You're not really gonna have main champions in, but you got your two champions in. You got your Intercontinental. Gunther got in. He declared himself in, and Theory declared himself in. And I'm guessing that kind of makes sense. If you're a champion, you probably are at high enough of a level that you can declare yourself in, because you're looking to make it to the next step, right? And you're deserving of getting to the next step because you're kind of at that tier where you're a champion, so you're going to be next in line for that main title. And this is why
don't mind. If you don't mind, maybe we'll leave the men's till last. I think the men's actually has the most storylines. The women's has quite a few too. So actually, I wonder maybe we lead the Rumbles.
I didn't mean we jump into the Rumble. I just meant like just starting from the men's side, and then that's why I was going to move into saying in the women's side on the the declaring and the champions. We really don't have any women's mid-tier champions. That doesn't happen. As far as I know, even the tag champs, they're not in the Rumble, as far as I know. That hasn't been mentioned. So
Dakota and Io?
Yeah, I don't think it's been mentioned, has it? No, I don't believe so.
No, I'm assuming they're in. I don't think they've declared, and actually Bayley hasn't declared either.
Neither, yeah.
Neither has Becky, really, to my knowledge.
And if you look at the
she
poster
says she
for
wants
both
to
of
win
them,
it. Yeah, they're not on it.
They're not on it. And if you look at the men's poster versus... And I'm sorry, I don't mean poster, I mean graphic. Like when Raw or SmackDown puts it up, they've got a lot more men who've already qualified or declared or whatever than women. I think there's only like maybe 6 or 7 women that are in the Rumble so far. And in the men's side, there's at least 14. So, yeah. So, it's interesting.
We can probably name them. It's probably Rhea... Rhea, Liv, Raquel. I'm trying to think who else is declared on the women's side. It's not, the list isn't very large.
It's not very long. It's not very long.
It's because like the men is a bit harder because there's quite a few folks that have like just recently Cross declared, Braun Strowman declared.
I'm trying to see if I can find a list right now.
Yeah, because we don't know. We don't know who in the bloodline is gonna be in there, right? And you wonder if Sami Zayn will be in there. That'll be really interesting if that happens.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, like the amount of work that Sami Zayn has been putting in lately, along with the reception that he's been receiving from the crowd, you think on WWE's, best for business standpoint, it would only make sense to have him in because, the pop that he's going to get when his music hits and he's about to go into the ring is going to be tremendous. So you would think from a business standpoint, you would want him in, right?
It's hard though, because if you look at it from a storyline perspective, you'd think he'd be more involved with Reigns' match against Owens, right? Especially after the trial. And the subsequent tag match that Zayn was in, which you pointed out, he had a good long look at the tag belts when he had them in his hand.
You noticed that, right?
He won with Jay, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, I noticed that for sure. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens at the Rumble. But did you get that list? Did you find it?
I'm still working on it. So.
WWE, sometimes they make things really easy and sometimes they don't. But yeah, and I think when it comes to the Rumble too, I think there's only 5 matches declared so far. You've got the 2, obviously the men's and women's Rumble. You've got the Raw women's belt up for grabs with Bianca versus Alexa. You have the Pitch Black match, and I know what am I missing? I'm missing one more. There's 5.
So you got the two women's battle.
Roman.
Roman.
I don't know why I keep forgetting about Roman. I think because the Rumble is so much about the Rumble that I keep forgetting that Roman's even in it. Usually when a Roman match has been announced, it's the first thing I think of. So yeah, only 5 matches, but I know the Rumble matches typically go about an hour each.
An hour, right? or so, yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you can imagine the Roman one's going to go 20. Maybe the Bianca match will probably go around 20 as well.
Yeah.
Pitch Black match is going to be an interesting one.
The pitch black match, I feel like, could be a really quick one. I mean, you're not going to really be able to showcase a lot. It could be, well, Bray Wyatt's entrance takes 16 minutes, so I mean, you got to think about that too.
LMA will just yell at him the whole time.
Yeah. So I got the list here. Before we jump into anything else. So, the list, and this is in no specific order, I guess, but Kofi Kingston declared on December 2nd. Santos Escobar was announced as well on January 6th. And Ricochet was on January 6th, defeated Top Dollar, Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley are all were announced on Raw on January 9th. Baron Corbin on January 13th, he announced on SmackDown, oddly enough. Rey Mysterio and Gunther both announced on January 13th. Cody Rhodes and Omos were announced on January 16th. I seem to not recall when Omos was announced, but I think
it was a very subtle one. Remember when Elias was trying to get into the Rumble, and then MVP came out and said, "Oh, I've got the Rumble winner in this room."
That's right. That's right.
And Omos beat Elias, sadly.
Drew McIntyre and Sheamus appear to have been announced on Twitter on January 20th. Braun Strowman and Karrion Kross were announced on SmackDown on January 20th. So the same day, but 2 on Twitter, 2 on SmackDown. So that's 4. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in the men's. So we only have 15 spots left.
Half. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so 15 out of a potential 30. And announced on the women's side, we have 7 out of 30 competitors.
Only 7. Wow.
We started with Liv Morgan on January 6th. Candice LeRae and Rhea Ripley both on January 9th on Raw. Raquel Rodriguez and Shayna Baszler and Zelina Vega were all announced. Oh, sorry. Raquel Rodriguez on January 13th, and then Shayna Baszler and Zelina Vega were on January 20th on SmackDown. And Emma was announced on January 21st on SmackDown, The Lowdown, the SmackDown show. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so we're looking at only 7 so far.
So but if 23 people to
so they still need 23 people, and this is why I think we're gonna see that maybe cap out at 10. So we may see 3 more competitors go in on Friday, but the women's roster has been a little bit less than we have seen over the last few months. Like they've kind of decreased. I feel like the roster has decreased a little bit. Of course, with losing people like Naomi and Sasha Banks, etc., etc. And no, to anyone who's listening, Sasha Banks will not be in the Royal Rumble. 100%. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get any speculation.
It's not even her name anymore. It's Mercedes
Moné. It's not happening. It's not happening. On the other hand, Naomi will be back. She'll be coming in. I think so. Like
we're jumping ahead. Let's save it till when we actually talk about the women's Rumble.
But the reason why I say that there's only 7 now and there's 23 is because I think we have a lot more surprise coming in for the women's Royal Rumble. I think there's going to be some returns. I think there's going to be some one-offs, some legends, some one-offs, and I think the women's roster has a lot more to offer in terms of legend status than they used to. So I think we're going to see a bit of that. And I do think we may see some crossover. Maybe some Impact stars come in. If they had previously been with WWE, I got a name JPW or two in my hand. And JPW. Yeah, we may see some one-offs like we did before. And the reason why I say that, I think it was last year or the year before, Mickie James came from Impact. She was a WWE star at the time, or prior, and then she was an Impact champion at the time. So we saw a Impact champion bring their belt all the way up to the ring, take it off, and then go into the to the rings. That was the first time we ever saw that kind of crossover feeling.
She just won a belt too, I think.
I think she might have won the Impact title back. Yeah, so I would expect to see her, but yeah,
I wonder too about AAA as well. I wonder if we're going to see any AAA stars because Dragon Lee was signed, but then I read that he is still on loan to AAA, even though he is signed by WWE now. So I am curious. I'm wondering if Dragon actually will even be on the men's side because like what they're saying is they're looking at Unique or like different types of surprises this year. Not your typical like super celebrities. Like I think they're. It's
You're
gonna be
not
really
your Johnny
interesting.
Knoxvilles and Bad Bunnies,
Yeah,
although maybe Bad Bunny might be in this one. Who
yeah.
knows?
I mean, he was in the 2K23 commercial, so I think they really like the idea of
Yeah.
Bad Bunny.
He does a lot of
So
work with WWE, and he's actually quite talented. Like he's been in the ring a few times, and he's had some good
yeah.
showings, honestly.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see. But anyways, we'll stall that because I think the women,
We'll
men's
stall
and the
that.
women's are going to be really exciting. So let's move to the other three matches, which is not a lot, but there is still a lot with those three. I do kind of want to start with the Pitch Black match.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
It's a really interesting one to me because I don't know how much wrestling we're actually going to see in that match.
I tend to agree. I think this is going to be a quick squash match, unfortunately, and I don't want to see that for LA Knight because I think he's done some really good mic work. I think I really like to see what he's done since he's moved from that Max Dupree to LA Knight, back to LA Knight. He's done a great job, and I'd love to see him win. But I feel like they brought Bray Wyatt in, and I don't see Bray Wyatt losing too quickly. It doesn't really make that much sense unless there's outside interference. Now, if we do see some sort of like loss from his standpoint, it's going to be a non-clean match for sure. Like, it's pretty obvious at that point, right? And I don't mean like a clean victory, like, or non-clean victory. I think it's just somebody else is going to get involved, and it has to be Uncle Howdy or apparently Uncle Harper at this point. There's two of them that we've heard of the rumors, but we've only really saw one. They've only really referenced one on TV, and that's Uncle Howdy. Everyone has the speculation that he's going to get involved in the match. I think this whole purpose of this match could be to finally reveal who that is, who that may be. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it at a pay-per-view. You can't do it on a SmackDown. It's got to be at a pay-per-view. And you've only got this pay-per-view and Elimination Chamber, and then, like we said before,
Mania.
But there may be something in between, like a fast lane or something like that. It hasn't been announced yet, but other than that, if there's not, then it's Mania. So you really don't have a lot of time to reveal someone before Mania. It's going to happen at Mania at that point. I honestly feel like we may see two showings of him, though, and that's why I don't think we necessarily will see it in the Bray Wyatt match, because I think he may quickly be involved in that Alexa Bliss match as well.
Oh, Uncle Howdy?
Yeah. Because they are tying in those two characters, Bray and Alexa, and Uncle Howdy has been involved with both of them so far, so we may see him show up at both or show up at one.
I've got to say before we move on that I think it, like, I know we all talk about Vince's booking decisions before he left and the transgressions of him, and I only watched 6 months of it, so I can't sit here and say it was a terrible thing. Well, it was, but like I haven't suffered like you have suffered watching Vince's book the last long time. But a major transgression we have to talk about is the fact that LA Knight was Max Dupree. Oh my God. Like, what an underutilized talent this man was, right? Because think about it. If I told you let's say he's been doing LA Knight for 3 to 4 months.
Somewhere around there.
If I told you 4 months ago that Max Dupree was going to be in the same ring as Taker, how would you have reacted?
Not a chance.
But in 3 months, this man has shown so much to not only to management, to the fans. He was able to share the ring with one of the most popular, iconic legends, right? And hold his own, right? And I think it's like what's been impressive is that when you see the segments, when you've seen the build to this match, right, for the past month and a bit, right, it's not just been about Bray, and I think that's what's been so impressive about LA Knight is that, like, I actually really look forward to hearing his promos, right? Like he's a heel and he gets cheered, like that's how good he is, right? And he's so good on the mic. I actually haven't seen him wrestle a lot, so I can't really comment on his in ring, but I'm sure it's fine. But like like it blows my mind that they had this kind of talent just in the way they did, and if not for H, he probably would still be doing the stuff with Maxim male models.
I have to bring it up because you say this. Do you recall how he debuted in WWE? Because I do. Do you remember? He basically debuted in a segment where, if I recall this correctly, this was right around when Adam Pearce was having that beef with Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville was still technically an official, and they were kind of fighting and stuff, and Max Dupree was kind of in his face talking about
right.
And then he's like, Max Dupree, and then Adam Pearce kept calling him Max Dupree, and he's like, it's not Max Dupree, it's Max Dupree. And it was all that like really annoying, like just kind of in your face, kind of it just didn't fit his character.
I would skip those segments. Like I would skip those segments.
I would skip those segments 100%.
And now I would never. I don't want to skip an LA Knight segment. No way. I want to see him. He doesn't have to be on the mic very long. Even when he says, "Let me talk to you," like I want to listen.
Like, yeah, sure, talk to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I will cheer you, and just he's so good at it, right? And like I think there's times that he outshines Bray.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. There's no doubt.
That's saying something, right? So that's why actually I think for the Pitch Black match, can't speak tonight. That he will win, actually, because I think they want to continue to put him over. Bray is over enough that he can lose, and
Agreed.
Unfortunately, that's actually been his career. It looks like that he's been so over that he can lose to people. Taker being one of them, actually. And it was really cool to see that, actually. Then they called that the passing of the torch, because Taker literally passed him over, LA Knight to Bray, and he did the Sister Abigail on him. But yeah, like I think I'm really kind of curious where they're going to take the Pitch Black match when it comes to a storyline. I think LA Knight's going to win. I think Uncle Howdy will do something. But what will that look like? It is my curiosity, right?
Well, we don't even know what a Pitch Black match really is. Is it going to be in the dark? Is there going to be?
It can't be, because you got to be able to see them. Right?
So maybe there's only spotlights on them, and you can't really see very well. Yeah. I don't really know. But again, I was just saying it to you, I think last week. The Pitch Black thing is just because Mountain Dew's sponsoring the match, and Mountain Dew has a new flavor called Pitch Black. So I don't know if it's actually going to be pitch black or what the whole idea is. It's going to be scary in some sort of Bray-esque way is what I would assume.
Yeah.
Can we just take one moment to step back and appreciate how good Raw 30 was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was really good.
I've watched a few of these, and Raw 30 just really, I think that most of the segments, maybe apart from a couple things, it was really well done. The legends weren't overdone. There was a lot. I got a few goosebumps at times seeing some old things, some old clips, and it was just really well put together in as a whole. And when Taker came out and that bell rang, and then he comes out to American Badass by Kid Rock on the motorcycle, I was out of my seat. I stood up. I was excited.
Pretty cool. The motorcycle didn't seem like it wanted to work, though.
No, it didn't. But overall, and that's all I wanted to say, was just props to the production team and everything. That was a really well done show. It was fun. It had the right amount of new and old.
That's to say, it was a really nice blend for me, someone who doesn't really have the history. I used to watch it, like we said, when I'm younger, but I being a new fan, it was nice to see some of the legends, right? And then them really mix it in. I think of the DX segment, right, where Imperium goes up against them, so you get to see some of the new regime. Very new regime, right? They've only been on the main roster a few months, versus DX, and that was some good comedy. I really enjoyed that, and then seeing the 6-man tag, the Taker stuff was really cool, and then of course the first hour was all current superstars with the Tribal Court and the tag match, right? So it was a really nice blend of that. Should they have cut the cage match? Probably not. They probably could have cut a few different things.
But that is the Tribal Court's fault for that happening. Although I will say,
you could have cut some stuff though. I agree with the analysis, and that they sort of chose to keep a few, like they probably could have cut one or two poker segments, really.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Probably could have made the DX thing a little shorter, right? You could have just done a KO backstage promo for. Oh, I did enjoy see him stunner the Miz, but because I like the Miz, so that's just my prep. Whenever I see him, I enjoy him on TV.
Me too. I like him.
So, but I mean, like but there's so much they're trying to accomplish in that show. It's actually funny that like that's as hard as it is to have a 3-hour show weekly, that in that essence, I think you said Raw 20 was 4 hours, right?
I think it was Raw 20 or 25. I want to say there was one of them that did a 4-hour show, if I recall.
You almost needed a fourth hour, which is crazy to say because Raw is struggling with the 3-hour
Now
time.
that you saw it, you were like, oh yeah, they totally could have done a 4th hour for sure. Yeah. But I remember we talking about it prior to talking about the extra 4 hour, and you're like, oh, they're already struggling with 3 hours. But there's just so much content they could throw in. But despite what everyone says about the court taking too long and that kind of throwing off a lot of the rest of the script, the court was really well done. And the court was really well done because of only one person. Sami freaking Zayn.
I don't know, Jey Uso was pretty good.
Jey Uso did great too, but just look, like you go back and you look at Sami's emotion that he puts into everything he does. It just reminds me of everything he's done over the last year. Like, the emotion that you see in his facial expression alone tells a story. And I think it just really shows, like, the guy has finally gotten a chance to, like, be in a platform where he can show his skill. And holy, like, he's elevating everyone in that group. Except for, I mean, Paul Heyman's been doing this for so long, he knows the ins and outs. But, like, he's elevated Roman. He's elevated Jay. He's elevated Jimmy.
Everyone's elevated each other, right? Like, I feel like everyone is doing such a good job that, like, you know, even like someone like Solo, right, who was really like not much talked about being in NXT, has come into this group and he's now been really elevated. He's been booked very well too and protected. But that's, if you want to push a star, that's how you do it, right? So I feel like if their goal is to push Solo, they've done a very good job.
They did.
Which the match against KO will be really interesting because they want to protect Solo. So that's probably going to be a DQ finish, I imagine, because they don't want Solo losing to KO, and you don't want KO losing because he's on this streak to obviously beat Roman. But yeah, the Tribal Court was fantastic, and it's one of those things. It's one of those last little. It's the last big segment before we see what happens at Red Rumble. And we can sort of talk about, I guess, what the title match next, because we all know who's winning the title match, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that one. Yeah.
But I guess, as always, the question is how. How will it happen? And I think that's what's been nice. The last the last few title matches I've seen. Roman, we knew he was winning, but the story was done so well. Clash at the Castle, right? Even the match against Logan Paul, we knew Logan Paul wasn't going to win that match, but it was done so well, right?
I think, like we talked about so many times, if Roman's going to win, like, you know he's going to win, at what cost? At what cost is it going to keep the bloodline going? At what cost is it going to break down the bloodline? And I think the story that we saw on Monday with the bloodline is we're seeing definite cracks within the bloodline. You remember, it wasn't that long ago where Jay stood up and said, I don't give a damn what the tribal chief have to say. And on Monday, he didn't give a damn what the tribal chief had to say, because he stopped that. And he even said, you're lucky, Jay, that Jay stopped this for you. But he gave Jay a look. Like, he was mad at Jay. You could see it. He showed that. He didn't say anything, but he showed it. And you're starting to see there's a big break in the bloodline now. And now the fact that, you know, Jimmy got hurt and Jay had to defend with Sami, and Sami was able to win the match for them, like, that even further strengthens that relationship between those two, which was really tethered in the beginning. And now we see them stronger than they've ever been. What's next? How is this going to happen with this match? And we're going to find out. It's going to be interesting.
Because we know Elimination Chamber, it's going to be, well, mind you, the rumor is we don't know. It seems like things can change on the dime. Charlotte Flair, I think at one point was supposed to win the Rumble this year, but now she's the women's champion, so that ain't going to happen.
Could you imagine, just on a tangent here, she was supposed to win the Rumble match this year to take on Rousey probably at WrestleMania. I'm guessing this is the direction they were going to go.
Bianca. It's probably going to be Bianca.
Oh, okay, Bianca. But I was going to say, could you imagine if they went and changed it so that now Rousey wins the Royal Rumble and takes on Charlotte? No, please don't.
I think you'd probably have a lot of upset people because she won it last year, right? Rousey, 21 or 22.
Probably.
I think they said Rumble last year was one of the worst.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Because Rousey won and then Lesnar came in and just killed everything.
Yeah. Let's not talk about last year. We're in the new year. Let's talk about this year. But going back to that match, it's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a good one, and I think it's going to finally bring those pieces together that we've been talking about for the last 6 months. I like that Paul Heyman hinted at one thing when he was giving the offense against and the argument against Sami Zayn. He was saying, you've come into this to cause issues to the bloodline. You came into this because you've been with Kevin Owens the entire time, plotting to make something happen. And he's kind of hinting at that. And, that's a direction that WWE could have gone in at any point, right? That Sami Zayn's a conniving little bastard. He has been all of his career. He's always been he's always been that person that, he's out for himself. He's not out for anybody else. And this has been a different side of him where he's showing. So they could go in so many different directions. They could have gone in so many different directions, and they still can. I think that they're in such a jackpot right now because they just have so much luck on their hands of like where Sammy's gone, where the bloodline's gone, and what they can do with this. So I'm really excited because we think it may go one way, but we could be twisted at Royal Rumble. So
we could, because I think for me it really all depends what Sammy is doing at the Rumble, right? And I'll save a bit of this commentary because if Sammy's in the Rumble, that's and I agree with the analysis. That's a complicated soup. You got to be very careful with that. But if he's not in the Rumble and he's involved in this match in some way, which I think is the safer bet, I don't want Sammy in the Rumble, and I'll explain that when we talk about the men's side, because I think this because of the excitement of the Rumble, it's the first big pay-per-view of the year. It's going to set up. It's the road to WrestleMania and all that stuff. I think this is where you have the break. And it's not, everyone's saying it's the bloodline turning on Sammy. I think it's the opposite. He stood on trial there on Monday, had basically Roman, who's the leader, had Solo ready to kill him, essentially, and Jay stopped it, right? And so I can certainly, my hope is that they have Sammy ringside with Roman. Roman says your final test is to take out KO and make sure I win this match. Sammy won't do it to the exact extent of what
Roman wants, yeah.
And then at the end, Sammy says, "I can't do this anymore. I'm like," and maybe there's a post match beatdown, and he saves Kevin. And what I'm hoping for is what we saw on Monday is the continuation of Roman's going to give the order to take out Sammy as well, and he'll make Jay do it because Jay is the one that stood up for him. And I want to see what's going to happen with Jay. Will he actually do it? Because I actually don't know if he will, because he went against Roman and did the entire defense for him, right? To Roman's complete shock, right? I think that's better for me, because I think really this title match for Roman is way more about the story than it is about the match itself. We know Roman's for both belts, right? So it has to be more about the storyline, right, and how Kevin Owens is interwoven in it, right? So I think that's how I hope they use Sami Zayn. I think that's what's going to make for the best for this story overall.
I have to agree. I'll add a little bit to it. You think about Jay's position in the bloodline, okay? Take Sammy out for a second. Look at what Jay's done. There's a reason why Main Event Jay's got that nickname. Jay's elevated his career since he's been in the bloodline with help from Paul and Roman, and Jay's become a superstar. And I think Jay stands out to me more than Jimmy does, to be honest. He always has.
Yep.
Jay was opposed to Roman from the beginning of this whole bloodline segment.
Mm-hmm.
He always had beef with Roman. You can't forget that. That's still long-term storytelling. Mm-hmm. He kind of then abided by the rules, and he lost his matches, yada yada yada. Became really a loyal member to the bloodline, and then when Roman did want Sami in, Jay was opposed to Sami being in. He had attitude. He didn't like this. He didn't want this, and he was angry at Roman. And then Roman gave Sami more responsibility, and Jay still battled Roman on it, and he said he didn't care and he didn't want this kind of thing. And then
being very oozy.
Sami proves his loyalty at War Games. Jay now sides with Sami, and now Jay has more love for Sami now. He appreciates him and everything, that he backed him up at the court.
And
that's
against
saying
Roman.
something.
That's
saying
thing,
something.
Right? It's actually, you bring up the I don't give a damn what the try. It's very parallel if you think about it, right? He literally said it again, but didn't say it.
He didn't say it again exactly, but he did say, my apologies, and no disrespect, Tribal Chief, but I'm gonna go against you. And he said it honestly, and he did, and he stopped Solo. And he gave Sami one more chance, which solidified the relationship between the two. And you could see on Jay's face and you could see on Sami's face the emotion that showed that story. And then Sami goes and wins that title and helps Jay retain against a tough opponent in Judgment Day, because they didn't have an easy match against Judgment Day. That was for sure. Now,
a ton of near falls that each way you thought was
each way and it was believable that Judgment Day could have won that match. Honestly, it was really believable.
And I just when Sami was put in that match, I wanted the Bloodline to win after that.
Me too.
Because of how they told that story.
Before it, I was like, yeah, Judgment Day, and then when Sami went in, I was like, oh, I kind of want the Bloodline to win because Sami.
Could you imagine Dom with the tag titles? Just ex-con Dom walking around.
I can't.
It'd be so awesome.
I was all. Hey, we talk a lot about the Bloodline, but I mean the work that Judgment Day is doing, Rhea on the mic, Dom has improved vastly over the last 6 months.
Such good heel heat, absolutely.
The work that Damian Priest has done in the ring, he's looking fantastic. Every time he's going out there, he's competing to the highest level he can.
Well, he's doing all the work in the tag matches.
He is, and he did a lot of work. He did a lot of work, mind you, even when it was him and Finn. He did do a lot of work, and Finn's a really good competitor himself. So I really like where they're going. I think they've got a pot of gold there with Judgment Day. But we'll move on from that.
Especially with ex-con Dom, that's
ex-con Dom. But we'll move on from that because that's a whole nother topic. But let me get
one last thing on Judgment Day. The one thing I love so much about Rhea and Dom is that you see Rhea how cocky, but whenever Dom is in trouble, she I love it. She's completely loses it and she's completely frantic and so funny.
Her face sometimes and her worry and nervousness. There was one point on Raw where Kevin Patrick had said, every time that Dom is in a near fall, Rhea looks really nervous, and she turns around, looks at Kevin Patrick, and she's like, "I'm nervous. You're the one that's nervous," and she freaked out and panicked again. Love it. Love that dynamic.
I think for me, what's going to make the Roman title match, getting back to Royal Rumble, good for me is that's what I want to see. I want to see a point where Roman gives the order for Jay to take out Sami, and we see Jay's reaction about that, because it will not be automatic for him like it was for Solo.
Jay's not going to do it. Jay's not going to do it. and if he does do it, he's going to regret it.
Yeah, if he does do it, it'll affect him moving forward. That's where we will start to see the belts.
It'll affect his loyalty to the Bloodline if he does do it. And I could also see the other way of him not doing it. And now him and Roman are still having problems. Sami's out, whatever, and now Roman and that's, you're starting to see more and more issues, right? Maybe he might get attacked, but that's for another. I just feel regardless if he does it or he doesn't do it, it's going to cause issues for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so that's my hope, is that we see that, because and I'll explain why I don't want Sami in the Rumble.
We'll get to that when we get to the Rumble. The next match would be the
versus Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair, and let's see. I want to see what your perspective is on this, because I have a pretty solid idea. I know what's going to happen.
I think Bianca's winning, but I think it's only because Uncle Howdy gets involved. What my hope is that it's not just a Bianca dominates Alexa, and because like they've been doing that for these past few weeks, like Bianca just takes over and beats the living crap out of Alexa, and I don't like that. Like Alexa's what, a 4-time champion,
4 or 5 times, and
yeah,
multiple
right?
time tag champion. Yeah,
like she's an accoladed like woman on this roster. Like, don't have her be squashed by Bianca. Even the match they had with the Uncle Howdy business, yeah, Alexa got some offense, but it just like I get that you want to show Belair as this dominant force, but like you gotta balance it out with also being able to show Alexa too. Like, she's an incredible talent, right? And she was, as you can see, clearly being underutilized these past 6 months, right? Like her back in her heel, like that promo on Monday, like I was sitting there, like I said to you, like, where has this been? Why haven't they just been doing this the whole time? Like, seriously, like, even if she was in a tag with someone, like that's what you need. You need more of that than what Alexa was doing beforehand, right? So I hope that, even though I think Bianca's winning because there's going to be interference with Uncle Howdy, because that's a clear connection that they're starting to bring up. I just hope they don't make it like a squash, or, Alexa gets not a lot of offense in.
It's an interesting match, and I think they actually have built up enough story here that it would logically make sense for this to go either way, to be honest. What I'm seeing is WWE's pushing Alexa Bliss. They're giving her a good push. A push she, quite frankly, deserves, but also one she hasn't gotten in a long time. And Bianca Belair has had this title for
a year.
In my opinion, too long. In my opinion, quite too long. It's getting stale with Bianca at the helm.
Her mic stuff is getting stale, I'm finding. Like, I'm not finding her promos.
Her in-ring work is great. Don't get me wrong. But her presence in the ring when she comes out is getting pretty stale. It's getting kind of like, you know what she's going to say. You know, she's going to call herself the EST and she's the best and yada, yada, yada. I think what I'm seeing from Alexa, which is really interesting in comparison to like how Uncle Howdy's reaction to, Bray's reaction to Uncle Howdy is, Alexa doesn't seem to be fearing Uncle Howdy. She doesn't seem to show the same fear that Bray shows. Bray shows fear to me, like he's scared of what might happen if he doesn't listen to Uncle Howdy.
But if you think about it though, Bray, like, and I agree with this analysis that like Bray's kind of like a recovering alcoholic or recovering from some sort of an addiction, and Howdy is that addiction. So it makes sense why he'd be afraid of it, right? Because you never know. Like, they're saying the Fiend might show up.
They're saying that this match might be the Fiend,
right?
Yeah.
I know we're jumping storylines, but they're kind of connected, right? Like, and I think Alexa does say she's not afraid of Howdy, but I think that's also a front, right? I think. I think she is afraid of Howdy, and I think because you can clearly see she's been brainwashed by him. She the glass over, the vase over Bianca's head, and then I guess she put Bianca and the sister Abigail.
Yeah. I actually think Alexa is afraid of Bray. She's not afraid of Uncle Howdy. She's afraid of Bray, and I think Uncle Howdy, he has a bit of a entrancement with her. Like, he sees what she can do and what she can bring to the table. And this whole Wyatt 6 thing, like this potential Wyatt faction we see in the future, is almost like being created by Uncle Howdy, is how I see it. Like, from the outside in. And I see that he sees the potential of her being quite, like, having quite a good leadership in this group. So I think that he's almost like, the way that I saw him come out and she was able to attack Bianca and he just stood there and he was like almost proud of her rather than like trying to put fear in her. I think there's a very high possibility Alexa Bliss comes out with this title. And the reason
I don't. I think Bianca's going to face, well, we'll talk about the women's side, but I think Bianca is going to be defending that title at Mania.
The reason why I think that it doesn't really matter who goes into Mania as champion is because I think whoever wins the Royal Rumble is taking the title off of whoever it is anyways. So I think it doesn't really matter. You have a potential. I know a lot of like Rhea's high in the favorites in winning the Royal Rumble, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think she wants to face Flair. She wants to face, Bianca, etc. I think regardless, she'd come out on top, and it doesn't really matter who she's defending it against. I think the reason what scares me is if they turn this into a squash match and Alexa loses again, because she's lost a lot of title matches recently. She's lost a lot of matches. If she loses, if she loses again, you put her in a situation where you're putting her on the back burner yet again. And when I say that is like, I just mentioned, Uncle Howdy kind of looks at her different than he looks at Bray. He looks at a leadership. He looks at somebody he wants to help. He wants to bring her into the faction. If he screws her, there's no way she's going to want to be part of that. I think she's scared of Bray. Yeah. She's not scared of him. And I think there's a difference. You can disagree. It's fine. I don't care.
I do. I think she's resistant against Howdy. I don't think Howdy will just distract her enough that she'll lose.
That's possible. She might lose just because she's distracted, not scared or anything. But the way I look at Bianca Belair is she's a modern day Hulk Hogan, and she's very boring. So good in the ring, good kind of
a bit more endearing than Hulk Hogan.
A bit more endearing. And I don't mean their personality. I just mean that character set that Vince looked at and Triple H looks at as she's going to go in and she's going to dominate. She's going to hold the title for a long time. No one can beat her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think they just have to be careful here. They have to be careful here with Alexa, because if they mess this up in any sense, the direction they go with her in the future, it could be good and it could be really bad if they mess this up. So they have to be really careful about this.
To me, it just can't be a squash. We need to see Alexa be a legitimate contender for it, right? Because she is. If you look at her accolades, she legitimately is a legitimate contender for Bianca. So I don't want to see just this squash and then Uncle Howdy gets involved and then Bianca.
That's why I thought even Alexa Bliss might lose it. I might win it, and then end up losing the title in the Elimination Chamber back to Bianca. Good. That's what I was thinking might happen.
I'm very curious, but we'll see. But
we'll move on to, I guess,
let's dive into the big meaty ones. Let's do the women's, because the women's has less confirmed than the men, which is again we'll see what happens on SmackDown.
The biggest thing you have to think about in the women's Royal Rumble here. This is the biggest thing, and we'll bring it up before anything starts. Is you don't have Alexa, you don't have Bianca, you don't have Charlotte, and you don't have you might not have Charlotte. I'm figuring they're going to obviously she won't be in, but I'm figuring they're going to have a Charlotte and Sonya Deville match. This might happen. I don't know. It'll be a short one if it is, but I think they may announce this tomorrow. So you may have 4 competitors that are out, and even if you don't have that match, you can't put Charlotte in the Royal Rumble. So you already have 3 competitors that would be very good ones to have in the Royal Rumble that aren't going to be in there this year, which will be interesting. So you're already taking that away. But I also think you look at the match and you say, hey, there's only been 7 people as opposed to the men's 15 that have been added. The reason why I think they do that is because we're going to see some big moments.
Big surprises.
We're going to see some big surprises. One of those surprises is going to be we're going to see a confrontation between Beth Phoenix returning and Rhea Ripley in the ring. And we may see a scare of Rhea Ripley almost getting tossed over the rope, but she won't. We're probably going to
eliminate Beth for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be a close one. You'll have a scare of Rhea almost losing that match for sure. We'll have some other competitors come into the match. Like I said, we might see Mickie James come back, some other Impact champions. I think we might see a Nia Jax from Impact come in. She used to be with WWE. She's part of the real life bloodline with Roman Reigns. She's part of that family. I think we might see her come in just for a Rumble. We may see a Trish Stratus, a Lita, someone like that. a Michelle McCool, someone like that.
And that's the sense that they were getting was Raw 30. There were some significant female legends missing because they're thinking they're going to be in the Rumble.
In the Rumble, yeah. And that it makes total sense. I'm totally on board with that. I think we might see some... And, the Rumble is a chance to get some pop, right? You're going to get huge pop from names like that coming out. Legends like that coming out, right? You getting someone like Beth Phoenix alone is great, but getting someone like Trish Stratus, getting someone like Lita, those are awesome. The Bella Twins, I just with what happened the other day, I don't think they're going to be there.
So what about someone like the female champ in NJPW, Kiara? I don't know how to say it.
She's the one that's going to be. Yeah, she did, and she's the one that's going to be facing Sasha Banks for the. Sorry, not Sasha Banks. Mercedes Moné for the title. So,
there's a connection there, and they've been mentioning quite a while that they do want to see this as a Forbidden Door type of event because it's a one-off, right? You can pay her whatever the appearance fee, right?
Pay her the appearance fee, yeah.
And I wonder, you mentioned it off the top of the episode, but it sounds like you're thinking Naomi will also return.
I do think this is going to be the return of Naomi. I think it's been so long since we haven't heard anything. We still haven't seen her appear, but we've now seen Mercedes appear somewhere else. We've seen that. We've seen something happen, and what a better time than for Naomi to come back and make a big impact in the Rumble. Not saying she's going to win it, but come back and make a big impact in it. It's a great way for her to return and her to get back on the roster. And this roster on SmackDown really needs some, they need some attention. They need some new character in the room.
Charlotte,
they need some challenge in the room. Yeah.
There's no one to challenge Charlotte.
I don't want to see Raquel Rodriguez and Charlotte face off every week for the next 10 weeks, to be honest. So, Raquel's going to get her opportunity. It's going to come. She's still young, but, she's not there yet. And, we'll see it happen eventually. But the interesting thing is, regardless of who's the champion at the time at Rumble, I do believe Charlotte will be at WrestleMania. I do see Charlotte for sure being the title holder at that point. It's going to be really interesting because we're going to have a Rumble match and they get their choosing of who they'd like to face. So, if Rhea comes out, she's got to... If she comes out of it, which I think she is a pretty clear-cut favorite for a lot of people to win this. And, these are Rumbles. It could go any way.
The rumbling I have heard is there's going to be a tie.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is if there is no tie, you got two champions there that I think would be really good matches at WrestleMania. A Rhea and Charlotte match would be fantastic, and a Rhea and Bianca match would be fantastic. So they've got a lot of opportunity to go.
Have they done a tie before?
Never
in history.
Never. It doesn't work. There was a tie back in I'm just gonna throw out years. I don't know if it was right. 2009, 2010, somewhere around there, where John Cena and Batista both fell out of the ring at the same time, and their feet hit the floor at the exact same time. This was unplanned, unscripted. You name it. It was not supposed to happen. I believe John Cena was supposed to win. Maybe I can't remember. Anyways, an irate Vince McMahon comes out from the back, runs back out to the ring, and as he tries to go slide into the ring, hits both his quads on the apron and tears both quads off the bone. As this happens, that's how mad he was. And then they ended up declaring a winner, and I think it might have been Batista, but I don't recall. Anyways, that was the only time they have ever had anything controversial happen like that, and Vince was mad. So I don't see validity in having a tie. I think it's not a good idea.
No, I think you need to have an outright winner too.
You have to have an outright winner. Because then there's always going to be that you won, but I won, but you never won. And the Royal Rumble, like winning a Royal Rumble is like a career accolade. And if you take that away from somebody, that might be the only accolade that somebody gets is winning the Rumble.
Yeah, because I think they're conflicted between Becky and Rhea winning. I think that's the issue they're facing.
Becky doesn't need it. I mean, if you look at it, like I said months ago, I think we talked, and I said, Becky was my clear-cut winner to win the Royal Rumble. And I thought about it, and I mean, she's still got a really good chance. But the thing about her is she doesn't need it. Like, she doesn't need to have a win in the Royal Rumble. She's won. I believe she's won before. Or even if she hasn't, she's had lots of
Becky has won before, yeah.
She has one before. That's what I thought. But like it doesn't matter if she wins or not. But I think like for Rhea to win, she could use it in this point of her career a little bit more. She's fallen behind a little bit because of her injury, right?
I think I've seen Liv will go first. But,
yeah, she will. She announced that on SmackDown.
Well, yeah, they keep like thinking about it, but I think she will go first, and I think she'll get a few eliminations. I hope.
Apparently, they're saying Brock Lesnar might go first now, is what I'm hearing, and I'm like, okay.
Now we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, and I can like, do you make Rhea 30 then?
No,
it'd be a surprise. You want a surprise?
The reason why I don't make a Rhea 30 is because something that also stands out in Rumble history is the amount of eliminations that a person can get.
Mm-hmm. I think they want her to have that record.
Yes, Kane had a record, I think, of 13 for a really long time. And then Braun Strowman broke that record. So that's another accolade that you can add to your career. Like the amount you've had in one single Royal Rumble match and the amount that you've had in all the Royal Rumble matches you've been in. And I think with Rhea being such a powerhouse, you want to put her at somewhere like 10 to 15 to see her, really eliminate a lot of people. And I think the rumor is they want her to eliminate 10 at least. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, you got to put her somewhere in the middle. If you put her at 30, she's just going to come in and squash like Brock Lesnar, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see Rhea and Liv go back at it for a little bit there.
I 100% agree. I really would like to see Rhea face off against Raquel. They had some history as really, really good friends in NXT, and I believe they're actually quite close in real life. So
the last thing I'd like, I'll leave you with the women's is I wonder if Dakota and Io turn on Bayley. I think this is a place where you can do it.
It's really tough. And the reason why I say
at some point they're gonna have to someone's gonna have to eliminate someone, right? And I wonder if they're the tag champs, they did help beat down Becky, but maybe during the match Becky talks to them and says, "Look, she's using you. She's not as good as you," right? And then they end up eliminating her. I'm really fascinated to see if we see a split there.
I'm really uncertain because and the reason why I say this and I truly am because they haven't been announced for the match, and neither has Bayley. And I think that makes me realize I don't know if they're actually going to be in the match, those two. I would assume Bayley will be. It would just make sense, but it's not I don't look at those two and think definitively that they should be in the match. I don't think so. I don't look at it that way. So, yes, if they are in the match, I think they're all going to turn on one another. I think they're kind of, and that's what happens. The Royal Rumble matches are everyone for themselves, right? It's not about, so it doesn't matter. There shouldn't be any hard feelings.
Teams.
But, even if, like, let's say Io knocks out, or they work together to knock out Bayley and eliminate Bayley, one of the two is going to turn on one or the other because they want to win that. Ultimately, they want to win that prize. So that's a very interesting dynamic when you have a trio in there. But I don't know. I honestly don't know if those two are going to be in the match, and that's why I'm too uncertain about it at this point.
Last one, actually, I'm very curious about too is, do we see the debut of Kana, which is the Asuka alter ego? She teased it a while ago. Yeah. We didn't see it, and then she's been off TV for like a month, I'd say.
Yeah.
So December. I do wonder if we actually see that.
Yeah, and
that'd be kind of cool.
In December, like when she had her last match, she didn't have any face paint anymore. No line, nothing. Yeah. She didn't have anything. It was a different feeling Asuka for sure. Like she was definitely in her own head, I think. So that may be, and we've seen I don't know if you follow her on social media, but she's been posting a lot about this, like her roots and the character, and a lot on her Instagram, especially. If she comes back, she may come back as this character, and that would be super cool. Maybe we see a different theme music. I don't know, but I think Asuka has one of the best theme music in all of WWE. So I hope they don't take it away. But I would like to see her become a heel. I don't think she's ever really been a true heel in WWE, and that would be cool.
No, I think she was this Kana character in NJPW, so it'd be interesting to see that
when she was quite young, actually. Yeah.
No, it'd be cool to see. So let's move over to the men because we have a lot more confirmed there. Um, I said at the beginning I wanted to leave the Sami Zayn conversation uh, here um, because I don't want Sami Zayn in the men's Royal Rumble because
I
then
don't
you're
want a
going
repeat of the Daniel Bryan situation back in many
back
years
in the
ago.
day, right? You don't
Yeah.
want a Batista, someone like a Cody. You don't want a Batista, a Cody Rhodes, right? Because you want if Cody is the person to win, which I think is the person who's going to win. You don't want to have Sami Zayn in there unless you're having Sami win, right? Unless they've changed their minds and Sami and The Rock isn't going to be in the Rumble, or nor at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Which
Then
sounds like it
you
could be a viable possibility.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, if you're having Cody win, Zayn does not need to be in the Rumble at all. You can have some Bloodline in there, but they're probably gonna have Solo in
So
there,
I
I
think
imagine,
Solo
to
will be in there. Yeah.
get a few eliminations to showcase him. But yeah, I hope they keep him out. But yeah, so what are your hopes and expectations for the men?
Well, we have a good clear cut vision of what the men's match is going to look like. We already have 15 competitors in it, which means we only have 15 spots left. And we know some legends are going to be in this match. I would expect somebody like Stone Cold Steve Austin to be in this match. I know this has
That'd be
been
cool.
talked about a lot. The Rock, I'm really uncertain. I feel like this is a big
Mhm.
work by the WWE, and I don't know. A lot of people are putting too much into things like the lightning on the poster and things like that. And I feel like there's just too much expectation that it's really hard to say. It's really hard. If there's a lot of things too, like if Sami Zayn's in the match and he does win, let's say he does, right? He goes in and he wins the match. What do you do with Cody at that point then? You're kind of at a
Mhm.
loss at that point. Then next, if The Rock wins, okay, you're really putting The Rock in because of wanting to have him face Roman, but The Rock doesn't really need a title match, so really they could do it at any point. But it really comes down to his scheduling, and I don't see The Rock being able to put in time for January, February, and March to really build up to a WrestleMania match.
Mm-hmm.
So my clear-cut winner has to be Cody. It only makes sense. You got this guy coming back as like he's the true babyface in the company. I feel
Mhm.
like he's so over with the fans, and a lot of people like us have been really anticipating him returning, and he's returning a little earlier than people expected. So having him come back, he could come into the Royal Rumble at number 1, win the whole thing, and that really just like solidifies his babyface role. So that could happen. That could be a surprise we do see. I'm really curious to see what happens here too, because now we got Lashley in the match, and I'm calling it now. Brock Lesnar is going to be in that match, regardless if he starts at number 1 or if he starts at number 30. He's going to be in that match.
Omos is in it, so I wonder if Sheldon and Cedric will be in it too, and then the Hurt Business eliminates Lesnar.
Yes, or you see Lesnar get on Lashley's nerves and eliminate him again. And then this is leading into Lashley and Lesnar having their third match together at WrestleMania. So, I mean, it's really hard to say. They could be teasing this Hurt Business just to be a complete work. Like, they may not even do it. They may just do this to make you think he's going to go that route, and really it's just to put some time together with Lashley and Lesnar. And I hope that's not the case, but it's possible. But I mean, there's still some spots if you think about it. Like, who else is going to come in, right? And there may be maybe there's a celebrity. I don't know. But you might also see some one-offs, right?
We got Edge too, probably.
I was just about to say the one person nobody's talking about is Edge, and you gotta imagine he's coming back soon, right?
I'm assuming to confront Finn too. I imagine
he may come in and knock Finn out of the match. He might knock Damian Priest out of the match for all we know, right? Another thing I think is possible is we may see Rhea in the men's match. She may finish the women's match, and she may come in and try to get into the men's match too.
Defend her.
Maybe to defend Dom, but she may actually eliminate somebody. And the reason why I say this is because I think they're really leading up to like her and Beth Phoenix, and I think ultimately they are going to have a match at some point. Those two, at some point, they're going to have a match, and I think that's going to be Beth's last hurrah.
It would make sense from a storyline perspective because then Edge can get revenge on Rhea because Rhea was the one who did the concerto on
Exactly. It's long-term storytelling. But also, when Beth was in the Rumble, she actually did make some eliminations. She actually eliminated the Great Khali. I don't know if you remember who the Great Khali is, but he's a really large man, and she eliminated him. Mind you, it was because she distracted him by kissing him and then pulling him over the top rope. But anyways, she still eliminated him, and that's all that matters. WWE was a different time then. But, and that's why I think, to further that storyline, she could come in, eliminate someone, and then get eliminated quickly. That's fine. She's not going to win the whole thing, of course.
She'll be distracted by something else, and she'll get eliminated.
She may even eliminate Rey Mysterio.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Or Ray will eliminate her.
Or Ray will eliminate her. Yeah.
And then Dom eliminates him because he got distracted by Rhea.
Yeah. Yeah. So she may be in the match. So I think that I've heard some possible rumors.
That storyline is Ray and Dom seeing each other.
A lot of people are forgetting about that one too, and I think that's leading to a Ray and Dom match. And again, we talk about final hurrahs. I think it's going to be Ray's last match.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be his last match of his career. We may see Dom go face after that. I don't know.
I want X-Con Dom for life.
But why don't we have X-Con Dom and that mask sort of tie in together? Because I want him to demask Ray and somehow... at first I thought, the way that they probably foresee, and Ray would love to do it, is pass that mask on to Dom and have that kind of traditional family history. But I think even more so with X-Con Dom, why don't we cut that mask off his face or rip it off his face and somehow he then utilizes that for the rest of his career? Or he says he rips it off Ray's face. We see Ray's final reveal, and he says something to Ray I was never your son, and then changes his name to Dom Guerrero.
That'd be awesome.
Because I think he's really trying to emulate Eddie. He's trying to pay homage to Eddie a lot. He mimics him, but he's got that look. He's got that feel. He just got to put on some size, that's all. But he's very Eddie-esque in terms of how he's trying to portray his character. So that'll be interesting, and that's a storyline that I think the beautiful thing about the Rumble is you have an opportunity to build stories within the Rumble and continue storylines within the Rumble that'll go on for WrestleMania. Another one that I'm a little disappointed in is the fact that AJ is hurt, because I think he was going to play a big factor in this Rumble as well. But you also have people who might come into this match like your one-offs, you have some legends, but you might have some tag team come in, like Street Profits might come in, the OC might come in.
I've heard Great Muta might show up.
Who?
The Great Muta, the one that Shinsuke Nakamura just faced.
From NJPW. Okay.
I think
Jay White's going to be in there.
Hopefully going to show up. Yeah. Well, he's still under contract till mid-Feb, so I don't know. We'll see. That he'd be cool to see. I think we'll see Bad Bunny. I think we might see Logan Paul.
We will see Logan Paul, I believe. I think he'll come in and he'll do okay. We might see Bad Bunny, and I do believe we're going to see a Matt Cardona return. So I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I forgot about Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green too. Matt Cardona was previously with WWE as
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder, that's right.
He's trademarked that name now, so I'm thinking he's coming back.
They've trademarked Matt Cardona, right?
Zack Ryder.
He won't want to come back as Zack Ryder. I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. He hates his time in WWE as Zack Ryder, and I think they really underutilized him there. He won a Intercontinental Championship ladder match a few years ago against The Miz, and I've never heard a pop so loud for a crowd just appreciating what he was able to do and being so underutilized, because I think he was always a fan favorite, but he was not a Vince favorite. You know what I mean? And I think that really pissed him off and pissed a lot of fans off, honestly. So I think if you look at it, I think he's got a bad taste in his mouth with the whole Zack Ryder thing. So he wants to go in, but he has been mentioning on podcasts and other interviews that he's got unfinished business with WWE. So I think it makes sense for him to go in as Matt Cardona. We'll see what happens. If that happens, that's great. but there still could be so many surprises. I really don't. What's your take on this whole? I know I talked about it a little bit, but like, what's your whole take on this whole The Rock thing? Like, do you believe it? Do you think he's going to be there?
Yeah, I do.
You do, hey?
I think it's a massive smokescreen. Yeah, it's just interesting how like.
But if he's in, he wins, right? Like I mean,
I don't know. I don't know because we have this whole splitting of the WWE title too. And so Rock can still be in it, eliminated, but still face Roman, right? But mind you, if The Rock's in it, it's just tough because you have Cody, right? And so The Rock's eliminating Cody, I guess. So it's a complicated soup for me.
That's another one where a lot of fans will be upset with, I think, either way you go.
I almost hope he's not, really. Like, it'd be cool, if him and Austin have a stare down, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
That they're saying, I've seen that might happen. But who knows? Like, there may be some validity to the reports, right? Like, maybe he really has said, you know what, it ain't gonna happen, right? And
scheduling conflicts or whatever, yeah.
It might be a good thing, right? Like, it might be that maybe Zayn does win, right? But ultimately, like, if it's not The Rock, I think it's Cody.
I think it's hard because if you have The Rock come in and eliminate Cody, it kind of looks bad, right? Like, it doesn't put a good taste in your mouth either. But it also is returning, especially with Cody returning, right? But then again, on the other side, to play devil's advocate there, like, you also don't want The Rock to come back and return after like 10 years and then lose and not win a match, right? It's very difficult. So like, if Cody knocks out The Rock, it's like, what a waste. But then it's like, if The Rock knocks out Cody, it's like all these months of build up for nothing. So it's like it's a really hard one there.
I'd much prefer The Rock just to confront Roman after his match with KO.
Too. Like, I mean, I don't even care, honestly. Like, if like the Rumble happens, the men's Rumble might be first, something like that. I know it won't be, but like, let's say it is, and the Rock comes out right after the Rumble and talks to Roman, or like gets in Roman's head or something, something like that, or even confronts him right after his match or whatever. Like, I really don't care. Like, I could even see it where like, here you go. Here's some booking. So you have Sami try to protect Kevin because they're beating him down. Jay steps in because then they start attacking Sami, and Jay steps in and says, like, we gotta stop, like, we can't, right? Because we said he's conflicted, he doesn't want to hurt him, right? And then they start kicking in Sami, and then Roman's about to attack Jay, and then you hear The Rock's music because you're attacking your own family member again, and I'm not standing up for this. And because that's kind of been the whole story that a lot of people wanted to see for a long time. Like, The Rock is the head of the table, not Roman Reigns, right? And the Rock is all about family too. Like, and he's truly about family, and he doesn't want Roman Reigns to do this because Jay's his family too.
That's why I prefer The Rock to just confront him, because you can have it. He can call his shot whenever he wants, right? You don't need to win.
Then the WWE only needs to pay him $1 million to come out for 5 minutes, rather than pay him $10 million to have 20 minutes in the Rumble.
Yeah, no kidding, hey?
Because he's big box office, man. Like, they have to pay him a lot to come out. So
it'll be very interesting to see what happens at Royal Rumble. But we'll stop there because I'm sure we can continue more and more on about this fantastic event. It's going to be really good. Looking forward to watching it and then having some time to reflect with you on what we saw. But thanks everyone for listening today. Please subscribe on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe on our audio side, which is Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And as I always say, my beautifully bearded friend, thanks for chatting with me.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, everyone, and looking forward to the Royal Rumble. Catch you at the next one.